On this episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast, we talk about Underneath by Code Orange. Not a flavor of Mountain Dew. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like to talk about it. And today we're going to talk about the most recent album, came out last year from Code Orange, a band from Pittsburgh? I was about to say Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
I would try a Mountain Dew Code Orange. I would give that a shot.
I mean, I feel like they have one that's kind of got some orange. They've all got like random citrus shit in them.
Right.
I don't know how much of it is actually genuine.
Oh no, it's
all artificial flavors.
Yeah, it's all made in a lab.
There's one that is the color orange.
Yeah.
Kind of an electric sort of orange.
Mountain Lightning.
Mountain Lightning, is that what it is?
That's the one you can get at KFC.
Oh, I think there's another one that you used to be able to get in stores. I don't know. I don't know. When I was in high school and college, I enjoyed me a Code Red.
Sure.
But other than that, if I drink a Mountain Dew, it's just going to be a regular Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I had a Code Red not too long ago, and I thought, so the whole purpose of this was just to make Mountain Dew sweeter. It's all they were trying to do, right?
Put even more sugar into Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the newest Code Orange album, Underneath.
Brand new.
Not brand new.
Well, last year.
Yeah, it's almost a year old at this point.
Okay, to me that's brand new.
It's been a both a decade and a week since last April. So it might as well be brand new.
Speaking of brand new, you saw? Yeah, I sent you the picture. My brand new grandchild.
Your that's right.
I'm a granddad.
A grandfather. Hello, grandfather.
Oh, hey, get off of my lawn, you kids.
Start practicing.
Okay.
Start practicing. Be a curmudgeon. Trying to picture you as a curmudgeonly grandpa.
It'd be kind of weird.
Work. It doesn't work.
See, in 18 years, I'm going to be 65? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be 60. I'm just trying to think, how I'm going to share my first joint with my grandchild.
I mean, there are a multitude of ways that could go.
Yeah.
There's some. You're going to be that kind of grandpa.
Probably. Hey, come on. You know how granddaddy's always giggly and munchy.
I was going to say, you're assuming that in 18 years we'll have legal weed, but you never said anything about legality.
No.
So.
Right. I didn't smoke any marijuana until it was legal.
Yes. And that's the story we're going to stick with. So we'll talk about the album later on. First, how are you other than the grandchild?
No, I'm doing fantastic. I mean, I haven't actually get to hold her yet.
Well, because your daughter lives in Arizona?
No. She lives here in Minot. She lives not too far from here.
Really? I thought this is your oldest daughter?
No, this is one of my teenagers.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought this was your oldest daughter.
No, she's never having kids.
Oh, senior
in high school.
Last week, I feel like we had a whole conversation
and
where
you were just assuming.
I was just assuming it was your oldest daughter, and I feel maybe bad about that, but you didn't. I didn't get any indication otherwise. I thought I had heard when you mentioned that she was pregnant months ago.
It was one of my twins.
I thought you had said it was your oldest. I just completely forgot about that. But congratulations anyway.
Thank you.
I suppose
it's a beautiful little girl. It's weird. It's weird. Like a beautiful child could be the offspring somehow down the line from this.
From that.
Yeah.
I mean, it can happen. Sometimes it skips a generation.
Yeah.
Your parents attractive?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, my mom was a model in college.
Well, shit, dude. Come on.
I forgot about that. She was a model. She was a model in college, and then she got a law degree. And then she was just, oh man. I remember she used to tell me about what she used to do in court during exposition. She totally wear like a low cut thing.
Oh God.
Look all like Barbie doll. Like, I don't know what's going on.
So she was legally blonding it.
Yeah, legally. And then she'd show up on the last day, prepared.
The fucking power suit.
With the power suit with all the shit together.
Hell yeah. That's badass.
Yeah, it is pretty badass.
That's awesome. Over the last week, I've been addicted to this new game that has come out.
Yeah.
It's technically in early access, but it feels like such a complete product already compared to so many other early access games that I've played. It's called Valheim.
Valheim.
It is basically like kind of like it's a sort of crafting survival game like Minecraft or Rust or Ark
or Subnautica.
Yeah. But the shtick is you're a Viking dude.
Oh wow!
The basic idea of the whatever story you could consider it to have is that you died, and instead of going to Valhalla, Valkyrie drops you off in this place called Valheim, which is the 10th realm, and there are all these monsters there that are called the Forsaken. They're these big, terrifying bosses that you have to defeat in order to earn your way into Valhalla.
Nice. But you have to work your way. You don't have anything.
Yeah,
you get tools.
You get dropped wearing a loincloth, and that's it.
Wow.
So you have to climb your way up the tech tree, and it's designed to be. It seems like it's more or less designed to be played cooperatively. It's really easy to set up like sessions. So me and my friends have been playing it and streaming it on Twitch and that sort of thing. It's really, I find it very relaxing. It's been a while since I've found a game like this where I can just sort of put a podcast on and go and, collect things and craft things. Like I have Minecraft, but I'm not really interested in Minecraft anymore for whatever reason. Like even though so much new stuff has continued to come out, it's just like, this is all super familiar, where like Valheim is pretty low poly, but it's not like, blocks and squares like Minecraft is, but it's also not as like high def as something like Ark.
Ark Survival? Or?
Yeah, Survival Evolved.
We have that.
I think you mentioned that. Yeah, Max plays it.
Yeah.
It's just pulled me in. I find it really relaxing and cozy. That might be because there's roaring fires all over the place in every camp and lots of wood and everything, but it's my aesthetic. I like it. And despite how like low poly all of the models and textures are, the lighting is gorgeous.
Really?
Especially once you get to, evening to the golden hour or whatever, like the way that the game handles lighting is really pretty for something that was $20 and is less than a gigabyte.
Sure.
Or is around a gigabyte. I think that's
a small game.
Yeah. It's really fun. And again, it's early access, which other than occasionally some, a couple of hitches and little things that don't seem to work out super smoothly, it feels really solid. And that might be because it's probably got a fairly simple sort of engine. And I think it's made by a company called Iron Gate. And I think they did early access the right way, which is have a game that is basically complete.
Sure.
Or at the very least 100% functional.
Right, it's fully playable.
And then add features to it. Like you might have some features that are missing, but everything is fully playable and it's not absolutely riddled with bugs.
Nice.
Essentially. Like when Baldur's Gate 3 started early access, it was rough. But that's also a much bigger undertaking.
Sure. Have you gone back to playing that at all?
I did for one night. But me and the rest of the people that I tend to play video games with are sort of waiting until they do the next big update where they actually add some classes. Because right now the only like martial classes are fighter and ranger. And it's like we kind of, I want to wait until like paladin and barbarian get added in because I like both of those classes. Fighters are fine, but they also don't have a ton of subclasses in the game yet either. I think the only ones available for fighter is there's Eldritch Knight, and then I don't think they even have a champion in the game because champion's just kind of boring.
Really?
What the hell is the other fighter archetype? There's one, Battlemaster. Battlemaster is my I like Eldritch Knight and Battlemaster because they're actually interesting, where Champion is basically, hey, do you want to play in a D&D game but not have to think about anything?
Just strike.
You don't have.
What are you going to do? You're going to hit stuff.
You think about things even less than you would if you're playing a barbarian, an archetypically sort of stupid kind of character. Or like Champion is basically like you get a couple of abilities that basically are like, oh, you crit on a 19 now. And there's like one other thing. And then you have your basic fighter abilities, extra attack and second wind and stuff, but nothing else on top of that. Like Eldritch Knights gets spell slots and Battlemasters have superiority die that they used to do like cool battlefield maneuvers. Champions just, I hit him with my sword again. And it's just like the easiest time. So I don't think they bothered. I don't know if they're going to include it in Baldur's Gate because it's just kind of, I feel like it's boring on paper. I feel like it'll be even more boring in a video game.
Sure.
But yeah. By the way, we haven't taken time to talk on here or really to each other about the finale of The Expanse.
Oh, right. Yeah. You know, it's funny is I watched it and at the end of it, I'm like, oh man, this is really going to set up a finale for next week.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens. Yeah.
That was the finale.
Yeah.
Which I understand why that was the finale.
Oh yeah.
It's like, it felt a little sudden, but it was like, you know, I like the finale and I'm waiting for more of it. But on the other hand, there was some awkwardness because they sort of did what they could to kill off a main character. So if you don't know anything about The Expanse and you plan on watching it, maybe tune out for a couple of minutes. There's a character named Alex Kamal, who is the pilot of the Rocinante, which is the main ship that the show takes place on. And his actor, Cass Anvar, over the summer received numerous allegations of sexual...
This summer or was that the last summer?
It was summer of 2020, I'm pretty sure. Because it was after they'd finished filming for season 5.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So over the summer of 2020, he received a whole bunch of allegations of sexual harassment, and the company looked into it and apparently figured it was either so bad for optics or something really, you know, they found credible evidence and they fired him, and he's not coming back for season 6, but they had already filmed all of season 5
Sure.
and obviously didn't want Cass back for pickup shots because that would be awkward. And so they did what they could to kill off the character by having him basically have a stroke after pulling some pretty serious high G maneuvers, which, you know, has always been a possibility. Like they've mentioned that many times over the course of the series, whenever they're pulling really high G maneuvers and really sustained ones, that, yeah, you could just die.
Sure.
You can just have a stroke. And so that happens to him. And then they kind of have to figure, they did a reshoot with Naomi and Holden
and Roberta
and Roberta and everything. And it was like, do what you can to pay respect to the character, because the character was amazing. And a lot of people absolutely loved the character, but the dude is a creep.
Turns out.
As it turns out. So it's like, what are you going to do? But I'm just curious exactly, like, because season 6 is going to be it as far as we know. And they
said it's done.
How are they going to wrap up any of the shit with the proto-molecule?
There's like 9 books, aren't there?
Yeah, there's the book 9 is coming out this year, if it hasn't come out already. And it's like, how are they going to, because the big thing is going to be Marco and the Free Navy and fighting them. How are they going to find any time to figure out what the fuck is going on with the ring gates?
Sure, there's a lot more story to be had, and if they're doing 10 episodes.
Yeah, and now there's the whole deal with a bunch of Martians splintering off and forming their own little fascist empire. And so I don't know. It seems like they're at risk of Game of Thrones territory.
Oh man,
where there's too much stuff to wrap up and they're not taking enough time. Although that's 4 more episodes If they're doing 10, which I think they are, it's 4 more episodes than fucking dipshit and dumbass took. So
yeah, I think what possibly is going to happen at the very end in the 10th episode is what's going to happen is James is going to take hold of the Rocinante and then turn her back on Earth and just start killing Earthers.
Just launch all the nukes at Earth.
Yeah.
Because he heard a klaxon going off.
Right.
In the Rocinante, and it reminded him of how when he was in the Navy, that also happened, or something like that. Yeah, it's God. I trust them to not do something completely.
They have to know better. I don't understand how. Yeah, I'll never understand how that last season of. I'll never understand it.
Remember this. David Benioff? He wrote X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Sure. Oh, really?
So that's how season 8 happened.
Well, okay.
Because they were not good screenwriters. They just had good material to work with.
Great source material, yeah.
And then they ran out. And
then it got stupid.
Went from there and had to rely on their own talents, which were not sufficient. Because they're not good screenwriters. They're not good writers. They suddenly found themselves, it seems like they're very good at adapting stories, but writing them on their own.
No.
Fuck no. They can't be trusted to do any of that shit. And it's like, so many people have talked about, we're spending so much time inside binge watching shows. So many people are like, I'd really love to rewatch Game of Thrones, but it all builds up to nothing.
Right. So, no.
It all builds back up to nothing.
I wanted to show my wife she's never seen it.
What's going to happen halfway through season 6 of The Expanse is James is going to confront the consciousness or whatever that destroyed the protomolecule builders.
Right.
And then I'm trying to think of the dumbest thing that could happen there. You think it's going to be a big battle between them, and then suddenly that dipshit kid that supposedly died in season 3, it turns out he was alive and shows up and kills
the one who should have died a couple of times.
The what was
his uncle?
He did get smashed by an elevator eventually.
Yeah.
Which was the first instance of don't be in an elevator shaft in The Expanse.
No, don't ever.
Elevators are bad news in The Expanse.
You might get suplexed done in an elevator.
It's the best. That was maybe one of so many good moments in season 5, but just Amos fucking suplexing this goddamn
giant
meathead dude into like a 300-foot deep elevator shaft. Was so fucking amazing. But it's just I'm curious. I'm excited. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Until when?
And probably maybe next December or later. Who knows?
Oh, wow.
But I'm interested to see how Bull plays into the dynamic with everyone back together on the ship. Because he's going to be their new pilot, and it's another Earther who's also a lot more prejudiced against everybody else.
Sure.
So that's going to change the dynamic, and he's kind of an asshole and also is perfectly willing to call Jim on his bullshit.
Here's my question. When did they start using the slur skinnies? When did they start saying that? I don't remember that.
Season 1.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That was in this season?
That's all the way back to season 1.
I have to go back to watch it all again.
Yeah, it's skinnies for belters. It just doesn't get said very much because the people we follow, are
belters.
Are belters or Earthers or Martians that are politically correct.
Right. That are not assholes.
Yeah, that aren't assholes like Bull. He grew on me a little bit. He needs some work. But
they did do that. So characters are so good in this show.
I know. And that Dusters is for Martians.
Sure.
Is the slur for Martians.
Dusters.
Duster. It's just a cool coat.
It is. I've never owned one.
Neither of see, a duster is cool in theory, but then if you're the type of person who wears a duster, you better be like a fucking grizzled looking dude.
Yeah.
Like you gotta have. Basically, you have to be super handsome to make like there are certain clothes that if you are super handsome and like chiseled and whatnot, you can make it work. Like a trench coat. Creepy on most people.
Yeah.
on a fucking cool hard-boiled detective, it's awesome. But most people are not cool hard-boiled detectives.
Right. Yeah, usually I do not look like a hard-boiled detective with my trench coat on, especially when I have my dick out.
In the park.
In the park, yeah.
All right, let's talk about underneath. Speaking of things that are in your trench coat, let's talk about underneath.
Sure, okay.
Like Code Orange. So Code Orange got started in 2008. All the members were 14 or 15. A bunch of them had met in high school.
Sure.
And they've been performing most of the same lineup since 2008. I think specifically Eric, who's the lead vocalist, Reba on guitars, and I think Dominic. There's a couple former members, but
sure.
We'll just talk about the members. So we got Eric Balderos, who does the vocals as well as keyboards and programming. You have Reba Myers, who also does vocals and guitars. Also, it's Female February,
right? Yeah,
which is part of why we chose now to talk about this. Otherwise, because I remembered that this album was a thing, and then I listened to it, and we would have talked about it at any other time. But it's Female February. So then we have Jamie. It's Jmai.
I would probably say
Jami. Sorry, I had some verbal dyslexia there.
Jami.
Jami.
I would probably say it's Jamie.
Jamie, probably. Yeah. Jamie Morgan, who's just doing vocals now.
Really?
He used to be the drummer up until this album came out. He did drums and vocals, but I think now he's focusing specifically on vocals. Because Eric is also on keyboards and doing all kinds of. They all kind of split duties, except for Joe Goldman, who just plays bass, and Dominic Landolina, who just plays guitars.
Do they have a drummer?
Yeah, they have a live / touring drummer now, whose name I did not write down because he's not a permanent member of the band yet. Sure. But he probably will continue to be. Maybe, probably. Who knows? But they received a Grammy nomination in 2018 for the album before this, which was I Am King, or maybe that's the one that came out in 2008. I should have pulled this up. But the album that came out in 2008 got a Grammy nomination, and so has this one, by the way.
Really?
For the 2021 Grammys.
Nice.
Let's see. What is the other one called? Show me, Spotify. Show me. Oh, it's called Forever. It was their previous album in 2017.
Right.
That got nominated for Grammy for Best Metal Performance, and so has this album. Well, one of the songs on this album, because that's the way that Best Metal Performance works at the Grammys, is we're not going to judge you on an album. We're going to judge you on one song. So that way, if a Big Four thrash band or Iron Maiden or Black Sabbath or somebody else decides they want to release one song, they can get nominated for a Grammy.
Sure.
No matter what the quality is, because the Grammys don't give a shit about metal. And they have an intern at the Academy, I think, who likes metal, and they ask him to nominate like two bands. Like, hey, what are two bands you think? Code Orange and
Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
But they ask, one intern for a couple ones, and then if there are some bigger bands that have released anything, they put those in there.
I feel like there's an executive who's on the board of directors who wakes up one morning and is really late in the game, and he's going, "Oh shit, you gotta call my nephew."
What does he know about this?
Yeah, tell me some names of bands.
What are bands that exist? What are metal bands that exist?
And I hope that
it doesn't matter. We're not going to televise it anyway.
I just hope that nephew one of these times does the right thing and tells him things like great metal artist Phil McCrevis.
Munch McCoochie. He's just gonna be like Pissgrave.
Yeah. And the uncle's gonna go, "What? No, you're making that shit up."
No, it's real.
No, it's a real thing. Pissgrave.
A weird confluence between Pissgrave and Code Orange is the fact that both bands use heavily distorted vocals.
Yeah. There's a lot of effects on the vocals.
Yeah, there's so many effects on this album in general. This is so Code Orange has really trended towards what you might call industrial hardcore or industrial metalcore. This is, I think, a very industrial sort of album. This is a fucking terrifying album.
It is.
This is frightening.
What I love about it is it's terrifying. Here's a cool song. It's a bop. You like
it. Here's like a heavier Alice in Chains song.
Yeah.
Here's like kind of a slightly heavier sort of grungy type affair, and then we're back to your regularly scheduled nightmare.
Oral terrorism.
It's like, and they'll randomly just like completely shut off both channels. Not randomly, but
no, every split second of this album is on purpose and planned.
It's so precise.
Yeah.
Which is, it's interesting to me because they are, a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
And have already been doing this for 13 years.
Right.
Like they're so practiced. They started out playing pretty straightforward punk. And then, around 2012, they started trending more towards hardcore and metalcore. Their first two albums, kind of their first, I think one of them was kind of like a double album or two EPs they put together for their debut release, which was called, where it at? Oh, it's not on Spotify. It was called, one part of it was called Love is Love, and there was another one that I can't remember. Though that and I Am King got released on Death Wish, which is the label that Jake Bannon owns and does. Jacob Bannon, vocalist for Converge, for anyone who's unaware.
If you ever get the chance to watch those movies too, they're fantastic.
What movies?
The Death Wish movies. With Charles Bronson?
Oh, those. Yeah. Even the later ones where it's just an excuse for Charles Bronson to shoot brown people.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's
they're slightly racist.
It's kind of got into Rambo syndrome where it's like, the first movie was kind of like a drama there was no, like, one person died.
Right.
Rambo killed one person in the first movie by accident. Because he threw a rock at him and he lost his balance while he was on the skid of a helicopter because they were hunting him down because he was a shell-shocked veteran they didn't like. Like the first movie is like a straight up drama. It's not an action movie.
And it's a commentary on American society in the day.
And how people treated Vietnam veterans when they came back.
Right.
It's like, and then it just went off the rails after that. The first one was based on a book. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was.
Until like a year ago that First Blood was based on a book.
I wonder how the author of First Blood felt about Rambo First Blood Part 2.
I can only imagine he was dissatisfied.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Rambo, fun movie to watch.
Fun movies, but boy, compared to what the first one was going, the first Rambo movie was such that Sylvester Stallone had to work with the screenwriter to change the dialogue because he was worried he was not a good enough actor to pull it off.
Sure. The First Blood, the first movie.
Like he said,
1980, 81?
Yeah, you say, I don't think I'm a good enough actor to pull off this dialogue. We have to change it a little bit because I know you guys want me to do this, but I don't think I can. And so there are some scenes where Rambo was meant to have more dialogue where he's just silent, which honestly works better.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
In a lot of ways.
He's good at that. He's an Academy Award winner at this point already.
What? Oh, yeah, because he won for the screenplay for Rocky. That's right. I was like, what did he win? Yeah, it was screenplay. Did he get nominated for the first Creed movie for Best Supporting Actor?
I don't know.
I feel like either he did, or if he didn't, that'd be a real shame if he didn't, because that's like the best thing Sylvester Stallone has done in a very long time. Was his performance in the first Creed movie. Right. I haven't seen Creed 2.
Haven't you?
I have no idea if that's any good.
Killmonger's in Creed 2, right?
Yeah.
As well? Okay.
He's the Creed.
I know.
In the movies.
I know, I get that.
It would be weird. We're going to make Creed, but actually it's Rocky 7.
And there's a Black Panther tie-in. Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan. See, we're going to get back to the album at some point.
We promise.
I'm just thinking of Michael B. Jordan.
Michael G. Borden.
Michael G. Borden.
Yeah.
Lizzie Borden. in the first season of The Wire. A very young Michael B. Jordan in the first season of The Wire.
I didn't watch The Wire yet.
He's like 11, I think.
Really?
In the first season, he
need
plays
to watch
a character called Wallace, and it's God, such a good show. So this album we're talking about, do you think it slaps?
It definitely slaps.
Yeah. But in a scary way. Yeah. Like it's a really intense movie where everybody's screaming at each other and shaking with rage, and people are having a screaming match, and someone finally lets a slap fly, and everyone's like,
right.
Everyone, the whole room goes dead. Mm-hmm. Something like that. It's a spooky, scary slap. I don't think I didn't describe that adequately at all. But God, yeah, you've said sonic terrorism.
Yeah, and
it's just it's hard to describe the sound of this album from a riff perspective, from just the guitars before you lay all the effects on it. You could almost call it. It's kind of progressive. It's hard to give it any kind of label, really. I like industrial metalcore. It's the thing is they're the kind, like, metalcore has such a stigma attached to it in the metal community,
right?
Because people expect 20-something dude bros with neck tattoos trading between death growls or just screams,
sure,
and kind of sort of high-pitched, sort of poppy kind of vocals. But then you've got this undercurrent of bands that split off. There was a branch in 2000 of metalcore where there is bands that followed the stem from Killswitch Engage and All That Remains, and bands that followed the stem from Converge and Botch, where the genre sort of split. And this band is very much in the camp with Converge. I've compared them a couple of times to they're my generation's Converge. I'm expecting them to be around in another 10 years.
Whose generation is the Converge generation? Is
yours?
Is that mine? That would be my generation?
Yeah.
Because the funny thing is,
they're your age.
I'd never heard of them until you mentioned them to me.
Well, I think they were also kind of not really in your wheelhouse.
Probably not my way. That's probably true. Yeah,
you were more of a thrash guy.
Yeah,
but not so they're not quite in your wheelhouse, but yeah, they're of your time.
I mean, I'm glad I know about them now. I enjoy their music. But yeah, they are my age.
They're of your time.
Who was the one the producer?
Kurt Ballou.
Kurt Ballou. Yeah, he's a day younger than me.
Yes, or older. One or the other.
One or the other. Yeah.
He's close to you in age.
Right.
Very.
He just turned 47.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kurt Ballou. I think he produced a couple Code Orange albums. He did not produce this one nor the most recent one. Their first two full-length albums were on Death Wish. Their most recent two have been on Roadrunner.
Roadrunner Records.
Yeah, Roadrunner Records.
Loved Roadrunner Records back in the day.
I think that they still have a fair number of good bands on there, but the list of good bands on Roadrunner, I think, has kind of dwindled. At least good metal bands, shall we say, on Roadrunner has kind of dwindled a little bit. I think there was a period in the 90s to the mid 2000s where they had a bunch of good metal bands on, but now I think it's kind of dwindled a little bit. But I'm glad these guys are on there. They released a music video where they all did motion capture for it, and they look like characters from Halo. It's weird. These guys try a lot of things and don't really give a shit how weird it is.
Sure.
It's just, let's just do this. And I appreciate that because it's like in an era where everything has analytics attached to that you can look at and figure out precisely what works and what appeals to people. It's nice to see people creating any kind of media that are just doing whatever the fuck, that are just trying something completely new and weird because it's what they want to do, instead of looking through every little piece of metadata and going like, oh, we have to do this because that's what appeals to people. There's no focus groups figuring out what, should be on the next Code Orange album.
Right. There's no board of directors saying, now,
we need more of that weird symbol thing you do in that one song.
Oh yeah.
If I was on that board, that's what I would say, because that's fucking, I'd never heard whatever percussion that is.
Yeah.
I wrote it. That's in my favorite song on here because I wrote it down because it's one of the things that stuck in my head.
That's it's
called You and You Alone is the name of the song.
Yes.
It sounds like someone has a jackhammer or like a reciprocating saw with a bit attached to
and
it.
They're putting up against a small cymbal.
Hammering it repeatedly against a small cymbal. I have no idea what the fuck is actually making that noise, but it's awesome. It's cool, and I've never really heard it before.
It is, and they do it. You do it the first time, and you're going, "What the fuck am I hearing right now?" But then they do it again and again and again.
And it's like, what? Yeah. I don't know I think it's one of those tiny, really small cymbals. Yeah. I don't know the drum kit pieces. A really small one that also is really loose on its.
Oh, okay. Oh, one of those.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know drum kits. I don't know
what the hell that thing is.
But whatever it is, it's cool. So Metacritic, 84 out of 100. A lot of people really like this album. Critically acclaimed. For whatever reason, Pitchfork gave it a 4.5 out of 10. I don't know.
Did you end up reading it?
I didn't. I should have read to figure out why this person gave it a 4.5 out of 10. But I hope they had good reasons, rather than like Pitchfork just gave it to somebody who doesn't give a shit about this kind of music.
Oh, this is the weirdest Agent Orange album I've ever. They used to be great skate punk, and now they're this.
What the fuck is this shit, man? Yeah, I don't know why they gave it such a low score, but it can be kind of weird because there are certain albums where you can expect it to do really well on Pitchfork, and then you get really surprised. I think. I don't know how in line my tastes are with what reviewers on Pitchfork actually. There are certain. I don't know if I really have any kind of publication that I really trust reviews from,
other than Loudwire.
Yeah, obviously Loudwire.
Obviously,
I'll trust all that. I don't look up reviews for albums though. No. Typically, if a band is putting out a new album, I don't go looking for reviews of it. I just listen to it and figure out what I think.
I did that early on, like when I was in middle school. I would get pictures, copies of Hit Parader or I don't know what the other magazines were, and then I would look in there and oh, these guys really like this. I'll have to go find somebody who has a copy of it and copy it from them, and that's what would happen. And then I actually learned to speak to humans sometimes and
figure out what you thought.
This is really good. All right, I want it.
I think as time has gone on, because I think I used to put a lot of stock in like movie reviews as well. I think movies is probably still the biggest thing that I am affected by when it comes to review scores.
Not restaurant reviews?
Yeah, not restaurant reviews. But like movie reviews is probably the biggest thing I'm affected by. Yeah. That'll tell me whether I want to go see something or I shouldn't go see something. Sure. If it has a really low score, a really low critic score, I probably won't like it. Like there are a bunch of movies that have really low critic scores but fine audience scores. Yeah. And those generally are movies that I will not like because I'm making myself sound really fucking pretentious. You are. And I am very pretentious. I'll own that.
It's fine.
I don't really feel super connected to what the general audience wants to see. Right. I like movies that have some weird shit going on. I like most of my media to have some weird shit going on. I think I've kind of stopped caring about what sort of reviews games get, especially after what happened with Cyberpunk. Really? Where like so many people shit all over Cyberpunk, and then I played it and really enjoyed it. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know.
You finished it, right?
Yeah, I've finished it.
Did I tell you what game I started playing?
What?
Because I told Maximus, because I've been playing the same core games for a long time. Just like trying to really finish them all out. And I hadn't played Marvel Spider-Man.
Oh, you hadn't played that one?
I hadn't actually played it.
You have it.
I have had it since it came out.
Yeah. So
I watched Max play it. Yeah. And then I started playing it like not during work at all today.
I haven't been doing that with Valheim at all.
So yeah, I'm kicking it. I'm like, wow, this is really fun. You really kick a lot of ass in this game. I really enjoy this.
A lot of ass, but none of them die. They're all just paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even Max pointed that out. He says, Spider-Man's real about, you want to kill anybody. That guy definitely died. That guy is definitely dead.
Definitely.
He threw that guy off a 14-story building.
It's worse than most Batman. Like, I guess the Arkham Asylum games kind of got that same sort of attention. Where it's like Batman doesn't kill, but all of these people are definitely paralyzed for the rest of their lives.
They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Not brain damage.
Yeah. Sometimes what doesn't kill you leaves you in a coma.
Yeah. And that thing is Batman. Unless it's a Snyder movie, because Batman can just kill people in those. Sure. I don't give a shit about the whole Snyder cut thing. It's like I've never watched the original version of Justice League, so I got pretty drunk one night and watched Batman v Superman, and even sloshed. It wasn't fun.
Never seen it.
Martha, why'd you say that name? Anyway,
Martha fucker.
Anyhow, what's your favorite song?
My favorite song. Well, I really like the song "In Fear." That's the song before your favorite song.
Yes,
that's a very good song. I also like a very straightforward song. It's something. The hell, brain. Who I am.
Oh yeah, Who I Am's good.
Who I Am's a good song.
That's one of the more kind of grungy ones.
Right, it is.
Same with, I think, Autumn and Carbine is one of those, and A Sliver is also one of those. Underneath is also the title track, which is the last
and the
song.
Easy Way is fairly yeah.
They kind of alternate between a fairly sort of melodic grunge kind of sound and complete terror.
Yeah.
Like this album is on the level of like I'm uncomfortable, but I like it as like Pig Destroyer, as like Prowler in the Yard. Like Prowler in the Yard's fucking scary, and this is kind of on that same level of like this is scary and weird, but I like it. If that means anything to anybody. Other than you, because we did that album a while ago.
Did we do Prowler in the Yard?
Yeah, we did a twofer because the albums are so short. We did Prowler in the Yard and their newest album.
Oh, right.
Whose name I can't remember because it was kind of boring. It was kind of a boring
Prowler in the Yard is great, though.
Prowler in the Yard is great. It's visceral and so gross and nasty. And their newest one was kind of boring. It was too clean. It was too clean. It was too clean, but also they went the wrong way. They got wrong what Napalm Death has gotten right with like their newest album. Like the newest Napalm Death album sounds pretty clean and very well produced, but it's interesting.
Right.
And it's got some weird like sort of progressive kind of touches, and they're trying new stuff.
And they're trying it well. They're doing a good job of it.
They're doing a good job of it, where the new Pig Destroyer one was just kind of like,
it doesn't work for you guys.
It's not the same. My favorite song was You and You Alone, just because I can't get over that cymbal thing, whatever it is.
There's a percussive element that you can't figure out what it is.
There's so much, but there's a lot that I really like about this album, and I think I'll be coming back to it. But it's one of the first Code Orange albums that not only did I listen to it and think like, wow, that was really interesting, but I've also listened to it and gone, that was really interesting. I want to listen to it again.
Sure.
Because some of their other albums, like, this is really neat, but it's not quite, I don't really feel like listening to, but it's been a little while. It's been a couple of years.
You should go back.
So maybe I can go back to, I Am King and Forever and figure out if they're more my speed now. There was just something about it back then that didn't really appeal to me, but now maybe they do. Maybe it does. Maybe it do.
It's unfortunate. I found in my life, in my long expanse of my existence, that the opposite is more often true.
Something you used to like now is no longer.
Yeah, I'll play it again. I'll go.
Yeah, I mean that happens to me. Just a couple months ago when we did that Avenged Sevenfold album, it was kind of like, this is meh. I remember at the time in like 2016 when what is still, I think, their most recent full length album. They're working on something, but when The Stage came out, I remember liking that. Being like, wow, a new Avenged Sevenfold album that I like. Okay. Yeah. And then now I'm 4 years gone from that. And it's like, oh, this is, I don't like this as much as I did back then, even. So it happened. It's already happening to me. I used to be with it, and then they changed what it was, and what I was with was no longer it. It all happened to you.
Yeah,
and it already has. So, what medal are you bestowing upon this? Like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
I truly enjoyed this album. If it hadn't been quite as gimmicky, I'd give it a gold, but it's a high silver for me.
Yeah, this is. I would agree with you that it is a little gimmicky. There is a part of me where it's like, wow, this is interesting, but how are they going to do that live?
Yeah, no.
How are they going to keep up with the pace that they've set on this recording? And I'd be interested to figure out how they do it, because certain bands can pull off this kind of effects heavy shit.
Sure.
Like Devin Townsend can do that.
Oh yeah.
But that's because he's kind of OCD and very, very into what he's doing.
Right.
He produces his own stuff, so of course he knows how everything works. But I'd be interested to see exactly how they can pull off any of this stuff in a live performance.
Or if
I'm giving it a gold, but I'm kind of with you where it's a little riding the line. But I enjoyed this enough where I'm gonna bestow a gold upon them. Next week. What are we thinking? What are we doing?
Next week we'll still be in February, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Technically, it probably won't come out in February, but
we'll be recording in February.
We'll be recording in February, and that's what matters.
So what we're going to do is going to take a trip down memory lane. Catherine Thomas. She was born in jolly old England in 1966. She eventually, after a good amount of schooling, came to the United States to attend Juilliard Performing School of the Performing Arts, and graduated as a classic violinist. High marks and everything. She also loved to play the guitar.
Okay.
And she would play under the name The Great Cat. And the album she released when she was 21 was Worship Me or Die.
Oh, okay.
I would love for you to give that a listen, Cale.
Well, I guess I will have to. My curiosity has been piqued.
I looking
Worship
back on it.
Me or Die.
Yeah.
Is that in a deific sort of sense, or is that in like a dominatrix kind of sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
She made a name for herself playing thrash versions of the classics.
I see.
But this is not that. This is just her original work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Worship Me or Die by The Great Cat.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's not. See, she can't be the Great Cat because she's not Skimbleshanks, though. She's not Skimbleshanks, though.
No.
She can't truly be the Great Cat.
No.
But she's a great cat.
I'll three of that bone, Cal. You're right. She's not
She's not Skimbleshanks. The best part of that movie. Anyway.
All right.
So that'll be it. And then, hey, it's almost March.
March. What do we do in March?
It's no
metal March. Oh, yeah. I've got some.
Okay. Nothing comes to mind right now, but I'm sure I'll make you listen to some Wonder Years or something.
Oh yeah, well,
that's probably a given.
It's probably by the time we're done doing this podcast, because I'll be dead because that's coming shortly.
Well, I've talked about every one.
Well, you'll have talked about everyone. I'll have heard all the Wonder Years.
I'll find something eventually, I'm sure. But until we get to any of that stuff, you can find our social media accounts. We're on Facebook and we're on Twitter, and we post new episode links there. If you're the type of person that wants to listen in your browser, then
I thought you were going to say shower. I don't know why.
You could do that if you want to.
Sure.
Bluetooth it up or something. I don't know.
Or just bear in mind, we're looking at you naked.
Yeah, we can look at you through this audio medium.
Ah, yeah. Ooh.
These sweaty dudes.
You can use a little more lather there.
Yeah.
All right.
Look, really get under there.
Get that undercarriage.
You gotta. Don't neglect that.
You don't want a rashy taint later.
If you're like me, you suffer from butt sweat. So get up in there. What the fuck?
I don't know.
We're also on your Apple device. We're on your iOS device.
On your podcast.
On your podcast app. We're on the podcast source, which is Libsyn's mobile device. If you're like me and you have an Android.
And a sweaty ass.
And a sweaty ass. A bad case of swass. Thank you all very much for listening to this episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I don't know why you're still listening. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.
That does suck, though.
It does, yeah. Sweaty ass.
Yeah, you have to go to the bathroom every, couple hours. What do you got to go to the bathroom? Nope.
I just need to wipe
up. Yep.
Like...